Hi, folks. I'm Peter Lemieux. We're going to play a game this evening. We're going to play a game about general insurance. So let me get my uniform on. My uniform is I change glasses. Now, we have a little bit of technology issue here, which means Peter's swimming with the sharks. To get the game to come up, I believe I know what I'm doing, but it's first time for me, which means there's a possibility of error. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull up the game and speak to you from the game. But since when I put the game up, I cannot read the chat box and you can't talk to me. So I'm going to put up the game. I'm going to talk a little bit. Then I'm going to shut the game down and come back here. And I'm going to need you guys to tell me if you could see the game and if you could hear me. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so let me try this. This whole process will take about it won't take much time at all. So we're going to do this. All right. I have got on my screen Kahoot Game Classic Mode General Insurance Game Night. Now I'm going to stop sharing and go back to just me. So what I need to know, could you guys see the game and could you hear me when I was on there? That's the first question. Yes. I could see the game and hear you. Wonderful. Okay, Ebony, I want to answer your question. General insurance is asked in all lines, okay, whether it's P&C, life, health, whatever, personal lines, commercial lines. It's on all lines. Basically, what it is, the fundamentals of all kinds of insurance and the vocabulary and the language that goes with it. So the answer to your question, long-winded, is yes. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pull up the game. You won't see me, so that's great. You won't see me. You will hear me. You'll be unable to communicate with me because when you write on the chat box, I don't see it over there. So we're just going to play the whole game with the instructions I give you. If for some reason you can't participate in the game to get points and everything like that, the way we play the game, at least on your own, try to answer the questions and see how you do. Okay, so that's the way we're going to work it. Everybody okay? Anybody got some crazy questions? Because when I put the game up, I won't be able to see your chat box. And I'm just going to play the game. If it takes us an hour and 15 minutes, I'm just going to keep playing the game. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to communicate with me. So kind of like jumping off a high diving board with blinders on. We're going to get doing this, okay? All right, so let us get started. All right, I have here the classic mode game for General Insurance Night. Now, the first thing that happens is you guys have to sign in to play the game. So let's get this started and I'll show you what you need to do. The easiest way to sign in is to take your phone and hold it up to that QR code. That will automatically put you in the game. If for some reason that cannot be done, the instructions on the screen will tell you, go to kahoot.it, okay? Kahoot.it. They will ask you for a PIN number, which is 9369495. Princess is in the game. So let's get all you guys playing before I shoot up with the first question. So far, we only have one of you in. Hold your phone up to the QR code to get in. Jay is with us. Or go to kahoot.it and enter the PIN number. Now, I'm going to wait a little bit because I want to get more people playing than just a couple people. So if you would please join the game, even if you can't stay here for the whole game, at least play it while you can. What happens is, if you've not played Kahoot before, the computer will keep your score of right questions. We'll have a little bit of a competition going on. So I'm up to 4 people and 5. Thank you guys. We're getting there. So again, I don't know how many of you are actually here and how many want to play, but I will give another 30 seconds or so for more people to join us. You can join the game in progress. And as the slides come up, I'll show you how to do that. So if somebody comes in the middle of the game, they want to play, I'll show them how to do it. Okay, we went from 5 to 4 to 5. Okay. And I think it's time to start. And we'll just go along and do what we can. The game is great, but what's more important is that you understand the questions, okay? And that they help you get ready for your test. So right now, I'm going to start the game. Kahoot at home. General insurance game night. 3, 2, 1, boom. Here's the question. A person is deemed at fault for being so reckless. What's the correct answer? And you only have 20 seconds to answer. Negligence, vicarious liability, strict liability, absolute liability. Which is the correct answer? If you're taking life, this may not be familiar to you, but let's see if we can figure it out. 3, 2, 1. Okay. 4 of you actually answered. One person got it right. It is absolute liability. Allow me to explain this. Okay. If you're reckless, that's absolute liability. There are 2 other types of liability. Vicarious is when someone you're responsible for hurts somebody else, like your child or your dog. And strict liability has to do with products. Now, if you are taking P&C, that's more important for you than the life people, but please try to get that clear. And we will see that it was Jess that got it right, and the computer will chart the top 5 people after every question. If somebody just joined us and you want to play the game, at the bottom of the screen, it'll show you. You go to kahoot.it on your phone, enter in that PIN number 9369495, and it'll put you in the game and you can get points. This will show up after every question. Okay. Next question. The chance of loss with no potential for gain is known as, I'm going to save my voice and let you guys figure this out. You only have 15 seconds left. Pick what you believe to be the right answer. The correct answer is this is a pure risk and not a speculative risk. All of you who answered got it correct. And you can see on the board 5 people with points. There is a 6th person. If you're the 6th person, don't worry. The computer's keeping your score too, but it only shows the top 5. Let's move on to the next question. That was a great job, guys. What is a morale hazard? Got 17 seconds left. All right. All 6 answered. All 6 answered it incorrectly. I'm sorry to say. So if you want to take some notes, I will tell you how this works, okay? A morale hazard is someone who's careless, okay? A moral hazard, drop that E off, is someone who's dishonest, which would be the the red one, okay? It's not a sudden and unplanned event. Um, I think what you people were thinking of, because you all said the red one, that it was a moral hazard. Please note this. Moral is dishonest. Morale is careless. That will help you with that one. Next question. What increases the chance of a loss occurring? That is a hazard. Okay. Two of you thought it was a peril. A peril causes the loss. A hazard, there isn't a loss yet, but the odds of having a loss increase because of the hazards. One of you thought it was risk. That is not the definition of risk. Risk is merely the chance of a loss, which we all have. Okay. Folks, this is very important that you know these fundamental words for your test, because I don't care which test you're taking, they show up on the test. So if you're unclear about risk, peril, hazard, and loss, write yourself a note and make sure that you get it. For those people who may have joined us in the middle of the game, if you want to play, at the bottom of the screen, we have go on your phone to kahoot.it. It will ask you for the PIN number of our game, which is 9369495, and you're welcome to join anytime. So, scoreboard Jess, Jay's in second, Rogers in third. It's getting interesting. Dominique and Shay are an eyelash apart from each other. Next question. What is burglary? So I will grant you that if you're taking life and health, this will not be on your test, so don't worry it. But burglary requires a forced entry. If you come home and your TV set's missing, but you had left your door unlocked, we can't prove that it was burglar or not. Okay. So it has to be forced entry. Um, it's true, it is an act of stealing, but burglary has a specific definition. Okay. And that is forced entry. And on the scoreboard, me, ML, I don't know which, we'll call it me, used that opportunity to move into fourth place. Next question. Which of the following is an example of an indirect loss? So, an indirect loss, and again, you life and health people, this is another one that's really P&C oriented, okay? An indirect loss is when you go and stay at a hotel after a fire. Indirect loss is extra expenses other than just the loss of the property. So, fire burning down a building is a direct loss. Kitchen supplies burnt in a fire, direct loss of your property. Water from the fire truck on the walls is a direct loss because it's caused by the fire. But the red one there, going to stay at a hotel, is incurring an extra expense. And we call that an indirect loss. How are we doing here? Jess remains in first. Princess came up to fourth. And let's move on. Damages that are specific out of pocket costs are These are special. Let me tell you my trick on this. Special damages are for specific losses. How I remembered that for the test is SP, SP, specific and special. So what's a specific loss? It's something that's very clear. These are my medical bills. This is the income I lost. It's very easy to prove and very easy to see because we have a bill or a paycheck that we're missing. It's specific. Special damages are specific. General damages, which some of you people thought it was, general damages are harder to prove. Well, let me put it this way, harder to get an amount. General damage would be like pain and suffering. Okay? The person you hurt might claim 200,000 in pain and suffering, but you and your insurance company say it wasn't more than 20 grand. So we'll have arguments on general damages. Punitive damages are punishments, PUN, because your actions were deliberate. You could be ruled to pay extra because you intentionally did it. You need to know punitive, general, and special. And on this specific question, no one knew it. So please write those words down for your study, okay? We're now going to have the next question. Which of the following would be considered unoccupied? So what we're getting at here is the difference between unoccupied and vacant. Unoccupied merely says the people haven't been there, but their stuff is. Vacant is no people, no stuff. So unoccupied is best answered by leaving your apartment for a month while vacationing. In other words, your stuff is there. But on the other ones, there's no people and no stuff. They would be more in line with a vacancy than unoccupied. Princess moved up into third place. Next question, what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller? Okay, that is market value. We've all heard that story, right? My home's worth 250,000, but when you go to sell it, you can't get more than 150. 250 is what you might think it's worth, but the market's telling you it's only 150. The market value is a willing buyer and a willing seller will determine what the market value of a property is. Most of you got that right, so we're going to see some points on the board. Next question. What is a policy that covers a certain unit or property? A little more difficult, huh? So correct answer is it's a specific policy. In other words, it's going to name the unit or the property, making it specific. Okay. It says a certain unit or property. Okay. A blanket policy will cover several items. This question has nothing to do with the perils, whether it's named or open, it has nothing to do with it. And it certainly isn't any insurance. A specific policy, and the clue was it covers a certain unit or property. So certain specific property. That's how we come up with that. Two of you landed that. So two people got points, and Princess moved into first place. Remember, if anybody has happened to wander in, in the middle of my game, you're certainly invited to play the game. And the way you do it is on your phone, go to kahoot.it. I'm at the bottom of the screen. And it will ask you what's your PIN number. It is 9369495. If you don't get it right now, after the next question, it will be on the screen again. Everyone's welcome to join the game, even if you just came in. It doesn't matter. The next question allows the insurer to go after the responsible third party after paying for a claim. We have described the act of subrogation, going after the third party who really should have paid the claim because you paid it. Most of you people got that right. It's obvious to all of us now, especially me, that these questions are oriented to a P and C crowd. Okay. Um, there are general information everyone has to know, but we're having a lot of P and C questions here in our quiz. So we're going to move on with me. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and there's no way I'll get it right. Moving into third place. Princess is in first. Next one. Damages that are easy to determine are. We just talked about these damages. Which ones are easy to determine? The ones that are easy are the special or specific ones, like a medical bill and a paycheck. Okay. Punitive is not easy. In fact, it's a judge that usually has to make the determination as to how much you're going to be punished for. Okay. And general is not easy too because it's things like pain and suffering. But special damages, which are very specific and provable with documents, are the easiest one to figure out. Again, if that's troubling you, please write general, special, punitive. Look it up, create flashcards, and have them clear when you walk into your test. Jess has moved back to third place, and we now go to the next question. Replacement cost minus depreciation. That is the definition of actual cash value. Actual cash value takes into account depreciation. Okay. Um, Market value is just willing buyer, willing seller. Okay. It's just what will it sell for. Actual cash value is replacement cost minus depreciation. As things get older, they're not worth as much. And we use actual cash value when we insure contents and when we insure autos. Okay. They're not going to give you brand new stuff. They're going to give you actual cash value unless you have replacement cost. And replacement cost is just what will it cost to replace it with new stuff, no depreciation. Hopefully, the explanations are helping a little bit. Jess is on the move, moved up into second place. Princess, Jess, Jay, very close. Me, Dominique. It's nice that you guys are all playing. I appreciate it. If anybody else wants to join us, Kahoot.it, pin number 9369495. Factor that determines the premium to be charged. Seems to me the only one that really gets it is the correct one, loss valuation. Allow me to share my thinking, okay? It's a factor that determines the premium, what I pay, okay? So it could be, am I buying actual cash value or replacement or market value? But all of those are really loss valuation. There's different ways to evaluate a loss. How I evaluate the loss is going to affect my premium. Am I buying replacement cost, actual cash value, market? All of those are under the topic of loss valuation. So all of these kind of dance around. Yes, they would affect my premium. But what we're really getting at is the bigger answer, the answer that says loss valuation. Exactly what kind of loss am I covering? Okay. That's what made that the correct answer. And it allowed Jess to reclaim first place. Has three answers in a row correct. What is mysterious disappearance? It seemed to me like this was the only answer that made sense. Loss with no known location of property. And you guys agreed with me because everyone who answered got it correct, which means on the scoreboard, all you guys got points. Okay. Next question. What's an indirect loss? We talked about this a little bit earlier in the class. What is an indirect loss? So we get down to language here, which is really the hardest part of our test. Do I understand the language that these guys speak? Indirect is consequential. Some of you thought proximate cause of the loss. Friends, the cause is always the peril, okay? Fire, burglary, what caused the loss? And is it a covered peril? But a consequential loss means something extra. My house burned down, I'm going to cover the house. Oh, by the way, since it burned down, I've got to go stay in a hotel. Or it was a dwelling policy and I lost the rent my tenants were paying. Those are consequential losses. It's not the loss of the building, it's something extra. That's what we call an indirect loss. Please try to get familiar with indirect loss. Jay and Jess got that right, if I got that correctly, because Jess has got 5 in a row correct. 17. Failure to do what a reasonable, prudent person would have done in the same or similar circumstances. If you don't do what a reasonable person would have done, you are negligent. Okay, it has a specific meaning. Okay, is it a liability? Yes. These kind of questions will drive you nuts on the test, drive me nuts, not just you. There's nothing, liability is actually technically correct. It's just not specifically correct to this question. If you don't do what a reasonable person would have done, you're going to be considered negligent. So just, one of the good advantages of doing these quizzes is to kind of get familiar with languages and vocabulary and what words match up with right words. Um, Failure to do what a reasonable, prudent person would do will make you negligent. Jess is on a hot streak with 6 in a row. Sudden, unplanned, and unexpected event resulting in injury or damage. You guys got that one? That's an accident. Okay. Unplanned, unexpected, resulting in injury. That's an accident. Okay. So for the person who said peril, please lock these words in. Peril causes the loss, like fire, lightning, burglary. Okay. And in these policies that we study, is the peril covered or not? But this is not what causes the loss. It's sudden, unplanned, unexpected. That's the description of an accident. The more people with similar exposure to loss, the more predictable the loss will be. That's the law of large numbers. Congratulations. All of you who are playing got it right. Pat yourselves on the back. Great job. Next question. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys care about this, but you get awarded points for getting it correct. You also get bonus points in the speed you answer it. So if two people get an answer correct, the one who answered first will get more points than the one who answered second. Just if you're, I don't know if that matters to you, but that's how they score this. When the master is responsible for the acts of a servant, that's a real technical terminology of what we're talking about. It's vicarious. In the real world, since most of us don't have servants, although we could, but I mean, it's people you're responsible for, like your children. Okay. That would be vicarious liability. Okay. Somebody did mention absolute. Absolute is just reckless, reckless behavior on your part. 9 in a row for Jess. Congratulations. Damages that are very subjective, such as your feelings, are known as that's going to be your general, your pain and suffering and things like that, because it's based on what you feel you should get. And that's what makes them difficult to settle. General damages are based on your feelings. Try to remember pain and suffering fits in there. I think we have a new person on the board. Nisi, congratulations. What is theft? Theft is an act of stealing. Included in theft would be burglary and what's the other word I'm thinking of? Robbery. They're both thefts, but they're different. Robbery occurs under a threat, burglary under a forced entry. Both are thefts, okay? Act of stealing. Everybody got that right? Next question. A parent responsible for a child is, I think it's the third time we've asked this. So let's see if we're catching on to the right word. Vicarious. Servants, children, dogs that you're responsible for if they cause damage. That's vicarious liability. The next one. The uncertainty of a loss in the future is known as, not to give it away, but the key word there is uncertainty. Risk. We have risk because there's uncertainty in our life, okay? It's not speculative. I mean, it could be, but what we're really talking about is a risk. All of us have risk. My friends, you could get done with this class and we'll go to get in your car and find out you got a flat tire. There's a risk of having a flat tire, okay? It's an uncertainty. Does it mean it's going to happen? No. Could it happen? Sure, that's what we call it, risk. We all live with risk. Why is that important? Because it's fundamental to insurance. There are some risks we don't want to keep because it's too expensive. If that risk becomes a loss, I can't afford to rebuild my house, so I buy a homeowner's policy. Okay? The risk can become a loss. Some losses we don't need to give to insurance. Like you wake up in the morning and you find you don't have any more toothpaste. Is that a loss? Technically, but you can take care of that one. House burning down, that's a loss I don't want to keep. When I transfer it to an insurance company, I buy insurance. Risk is merely the possibility. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it could. Okay? Jay has got 10 in a row. We got to make congratulations where it's due. Next question. Destruction, reduction, or disappearance of value. What is that the definition of? That is a clear definition of a loss. Okay, the risk has become a loss because something has reduced in value. It's as simple as that. But these words are, we're kind of learning a foreign language, right? Risk, loss, hazard, peril. Yes, and they're built into the whole test. So if we don't understand the meaning of these words, there's one on here that's a wrong answer, but we got to know the meaning of indemnity, right? This is the vocabulary we got to learn for the test. By the way, if I generate information or lack of information which leaves you with a question, I would appreciate it if you write it down or put it in the chat box. When I finish the game, I'll handle as many questions as you want to give me. Okay. So if you're confused about something and you want to talk to me and you can't talk to me right now, at the end, you can put it on the chat box or put it on the chat box now. When I get back after the game, we'll see what to answer all the questions. Okay. How are we doing here? Jess and Jay, very close race. Princess sitting comfortably in third. Me and Nisi Nicey are in fifth. Continuous or repeated exposure to conditions resulting in damage to property is called continuous or repeated exposure. That's what we would call an occurrence. Congratulations. You guys have got it right. That is the definition of an occurrence. Now, you could just have known it from your study, or you could have done it by using what I call the process of elimination. It certainly is not an accident. It's not sudden and unplanned. It's not a hazard like morale or moral. I don't think it's a direct loss necessarily. So what I just did there is I used the process of elimination to come up with the right answer. You can also be doing that when you take the test. Congratulations to all you got it right. Jay has passed Jess by a fingernail. Princess is in third, me and Nisi. A property is insured against fire. What's fire considered? Fire is the peril that caused the loss. Okay? That's the peril. And again, most of you got it. But if you would please look at those four answers and honestly ask yourself, do I know the definitions of loss, peril, hazard, and risk? And if the answer is no, don't go into your test without knowing them. Write the words down, look it up, put it on a flashcard, and read it out loud every day. Let's get all these words as clear as possible. The test builds itself on this type of vocabulary. I'm preaching to you guys, and you all guys got it all right. Next question. Restoring and insured, that should be an insured, to their previous financial condition. The art of restoring is to put you back where you were, and that's indemnity. You guys got that down. That's wonderful. That's a very important word, and you guys all nailed it. So I'm now dealing officially with a bunch of geniuses. Great job. Next question. Let's smoke and drink because we're going to die someday. Represent what type of hazard? It is morale, being careless. Now, some people would go with moral in that you're but moral is dishonest. This person's not dishonest, okay? So they're going to be morale. A dishonest person would be someone who lies, right? Um, someone who could lie on an application or put in a false claim. That's moral. This one's not really moral. It's careless. Congratulations, all five of you got it right. What is robbery? While it's true that it is an act of stealing, robbery and burglary have specific definitions. Robbery involves a person slash witness. Burglary requires a forced entry. So a robbery is somebody comes up to you and says, "Give me your wallet or I'm going to take your life." That's that's a robbery. Pretty bad one, but anyways, it involves a person and a witness. Know the difference between robbery and burglary. They both acts of stealing? Are they both theft? Yes, yes. But there's specific definitions that offset robbery from a burglary. Okay, and that's what they're going with. Three of you got points on that. And we now move on to the next question. Lying on purpose. Here we come up with our dishonest person and a moral hazard. You guys got it. Okay? Next question. A material or structural issue that increases the chance of a loss. What you have here is a physical hazard, right? Some of the things they tell us about physical hazard could be a crack in the foundation of a building. Okay, that would be a physical hazard that increases, misspelled word, the chance of a loss. Okay, that's a physical hazard. So what we've done is we've done physical, moral, and morale, and hopefully that has cleared that up for you. Is this correct? J, 18 in a row. You know, if you get to 20, you get to teach this next week. That's a great streak you're on. Fantastic. So, don't miss on purpose now. Liability where no proof is called. Liability where there's no proof. Tough question. Absolute. I'm going to tell you when I was studying what somebody taught me about an absolute liability. It's an incredibly dangerous situation, such as owning a pet lion. Now that's extreme, okay? But that means we don't need to prove if you were responsible or not. You were responsible merely by owning that thing. Now, believe it or not, a swimming pool is absolute liability. If someone is injured in your pool, merely owning the pool, no one has to prove anything. You're going to be responsible. That's what absolute is. No proof because we have a very dangerous situation. And only one person got it right. And unfortunately, Jay, it wasn't you. So the job of teaching this class next week will not fall to you, but you're doing a great job. Okay. One of the things when I talk, you have to factor in that a certain percentage of what I say is not to be taken seriously. No feelings hurt, please. What type of policy lists the perils insured against? The question actually told us what we're looking for. They listed the perils. So you are now having a named peril policy. The two things that come up is there's a named peril and open peril. Open peril covers all perils except exclusions. Named peril only covers the perils that are named. So a policy that lists the perils or names them is called a named peril policy. Why not listed peril? Because that's not what it's called. Okay. You might think it's a good name for it, but that's not what the insurance industry calls it. So I got Jay. As Jay has done a terrific job. But let's give a lot of credit to Jess, who's very close. And Princess is a strong third, but me and Princess, neck and neck, and Nisi Nicey there has 18 in a row. Is that right? Nisi, if you get two more right, you get to teach. Wow. Teacher has to bring the donuts. Okay, next question. Single property policy covering multiple classes. That's a blanket policy. Everyone got it right. So our dear friend, Nisi, has 19 in a row challenging to replace me and become the next teacher for the insurance exam queen and send me off to pasture. Let's see how she does. She or he. I don't want anybody getting offended here. The cost to buy something new at today's prices. That's called a replacement cost. We're going to replace it with new material. And I don't believe it. You stopped at 19. You probably did it on purpose, right? Because you didn't want me to lose my job and you're just a really nice person. Anyway, look how close it is between Jess and Jay. I mean, we're talking only 30 points. This is going to come right down to the wire. We do have an award ceremony, by the way, at the end, and we give out bronze, gold, and silver. So this is a very, very close. The maximum amount of dollars the insurance company will pay for a loss and for all losses during a period of time is that's the limits of liability. Now, I can understand if you would say maximum limit, okay, because it says max amount of dollars, but it's actually known as your limit of liability. So those two of you who picked the red one, I mean, you were sniffing around the right yard, but you didn't get the right plant. Okay, you got to be specific. It's the limit of liability. Okay. Jay is now in first. Jess is in second. Princess with three in a row. Um, Remember, there's no prize for fourth place. And there's only 5 questions left in the game. This is as tense as it gets, friends. What best describes insurance? The transfer of a risk. The transfer of a risk. It doesn't actually, for the one that picked green, it doesn't actually reduce the risk. It just transfers it from you to an insurance company. Okay. It might reduce the cost of loss to you, but it doesn't reduce the risk itself. Okay. Just trying to speak insurance for a few minutes. How are we doing? Jay and Jess, very close. Princess is opened up a little bit of a lead here on me for third place. And Nisi was doing terrific in fifth place. The next question. An insurable risk may exist between all of the following except you have to have an insurable risk to buy insurance. Which one is not an insurable risk? It's your friends. Certainly, creditor, debtor, business partners, and spouses are all insurable risks. Their loss would cost you money, but not a friend. Okay? So, as we look at the scoreboard, understand there's only 3 questions left. We have a prize for first, second, and third. And it's very close for these 3 positions with 3 questions to go. Damages that are assigned for punishment are known as punitive. P-U-N, punishment, punitive. That's how we get it. All 7 of you got it correct. So I'm going to assume that the leadership board probably didn't change. Yes, it did. And the reason is Jess answered it a little faster than Jay and owns a whopping 10-point lead with 2 questions to go. Princess, me, and Nisi. Jay and Jess are battling this out, so you got to get it right fast. That's how you get the most points. 2 questions to go. Which of the following is considered a direct loss? The answer is proximate cause of the loss. I'm going to tell you, I hadn't seen this question before. I don't think that's as clear as I would like it to be. The proximate cause of the loss is when there's a chain of events leading up to the loss. Okay? Direct loss, sure. And I guess it's the only one of the answers that really is accurate to the definition. But as an instructor, I am a little bit lost to do a good explanation of this for you. So I had a teacher in college who taught me how to scramble out of this position. When you don't know a good explanation, you just say, it's intuitively obvious. I mean, just look at it. Everybody knows this. I hope you're having half the fun I am. How are we doing? Jess has now got like a 200-point lead over Jay. Princess has got, 900 over me. So we're in our final question, which means after this question, we will not see these scores again. What's going to come up is we're going to have a podium and we're going to give out bronze, silver, and gold awards. Okay? The last question. What is an example of absolute liability? I actually gave this one away. I told you a swimming pool is considered, having a dangerous situation. And that is absolute liability. Owning a house isn't, having a child isn't, driving a car isn't. Absolute liability is like having a pet lion, or more realistically, a swimming pool. Time for the award ceremony. Congratulations to all of you who played. The podium's set up. Third place is going to Princess with 22,000. Second place to Jay at 26, and is 200 points ahead of Jay. Our winner is Jess. Congratulations to you, but me is fourth, Nisi's in fifth. Truth is, everybody who plays wins, correct? I mean, that's what we do this for, to kind of get this working. So I'll try to get out of this. And go over here. Okay. That kind of worked better technologically than I expected. All right. I right now told you, and I really am serious about this, questions, comments, I want to hear them. Okay. 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 Alicia answer the questions on the chat box. That's fine. Angela, second day, that's fine. All right, here's first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. I hope that, those of you who participated can see that things are a little clearer to you, or at least clear what you need to study, right? But does anybody have a question about something that came up, and I explained it and perhaps didn't explain it as well as you wanted? Um, do you need me to explain anything right now? I'd be happy to take a few extra minutes and answer your questions. So while I'm looking for the questions, an advertisement. Insurance Exam Queen. She's got a ton of stuff to help you pass the test. Check out the website, Insurance Exam Queen. She's got gold, silver package. Is just wonderful. You buy that. We do these live classes. She's got quizzes. She's got exams. She's got stuff that explains state regulations for every single state. It's just an amazing system she's developed to help people pass. Yes, I will be happy to answer your question. We also have, not as obvious to find, where you can get all of the videos for a ridiculously low price. If you go to YouTube Insurance Exam Queen, you will see a button that says join. Click on that and you will see Melissa offering every chapter of P&C for like $32. That's all her videos. If you buy the gold package, you get the videos. Okay. This one lets you look at them for 30 days, which is why it's less money. But for a lot of you, that's all you need. So there's some wonderful opportunity there if you click on the join button. My name's Peter Lemieux. Look for me. I'll try to help in as much as I can in the future. But I did get a question here about unilateral and aleatory. Thank you for the question. There are these words that we just got to learn. So I will explain them, okay? And you won't remember what I said, not because you don't remember things, but that's just the way our brain works. So what you need to do is get the answer on a flashcard and read it over and over again. Unilateral, remember this. Uni means one. So if you're riding a unicycle, it has one wheel, okay? It means one. So unilateral means only one party between the insurance company and the client, the insurer and the insured, only one legally is responsible. What I mean by that is the insured does not have to pay their premium. They won't go to jail and they won't get sued if they don't pay their premium. The insurance company has to pay their claims. If they don't pay their claims, they can get sued. One party is legally responsible, not two. We call that unilateral. The other word is aleatory, and I think Melissa has the best explanation of aleatory. She took that word and she turned it into a lottery. A lottery. How does that work? You put down $10 and win $20 million? It's unequal exchange. You pay a little in the hopes of getting a lot. Insurance is aleatory because you pay a premium, which is small compared to what the insurance company is covering. If you have a $200,000 home and you buy a homeowner's policy, you don't pay $200,000 for that policy. You pay a relatively small amount to get a lot. That is aleatory, unequal amounts. Okay, that's that. Um, where can you find it? In which chapter? I'm drawing a blank on exactly where it is in the text. But Jessica, workers' comp is required in most states of employers. The purpose of it is if an employee gets hurt on the job, it's workers' comp that steps in, pays all their medical bills, gives them disability income if they can't return to work. It covers them while they're working, but it's only on the job coverage. Employers provide that for their workers. That's a broad, very unspecific thing. But you can find workers' comp somewhere in the text you have. You know, you can do it, just Google it, okay? And they'll give you a general idea of how it works. But that's what it's all about, okay? When this will be next time for the Kahoot. I don't know. I kind of schedule these myself. I was a little worried about the technology, whether it would work. Um, when I schedule the next Kahoot will be under live classes on YouTube. You'll be able to see that. Um, let me do this. If any of you have a question that you want to ask me, I'm going to give you my personal email address. If you have a question, if I can answer it in an email, I'll do my best to answer your question. Okay. I do tutor. If you want me to just spend an hour with you working on things, I do that too. But you got to write to me, and we'll figure that out. Strict. Okay, yeah, you got strict, absolute, vicarious liabilities. Write the 3 words down: strict, absolute, vicarious, and look them up. I'll tell them to you, but look them up and get them clear in your mind. Put them on flashcards. Strict liability is product. If you sell or make a product that hurts someone else and they sue you, that's strict liability. It's the product, okay? Vicarious is people you're responsible for, your children, your pets. So you're responsible if they hurt somebody else. Absolute is just you have a very dangerous situation. So it won't matter if someone was teasing your lion and he bit them. You're going to be wrong for owning the stupid thing, right? That's absolute. Swimming pool. A kid gets hurt in the swimming pool. And you say, wait, it's not my fault. That kid was doing crazy things. I told him to stop and he kept doing it. Ain't going to work. You're going to be guilty because you're the one who owns the pool. That's absolute. But write the words down. Alisheva, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name right. Write the words down, look them up, put them on flashcards. What I did with my flashcards is I had a stack of them, and every day I read them out loud. So I would hear the answer and see the answer. And I really wanted to pass the test. So I took my stack of flashcards and I read them out loud 3 times every day, because I happen to be this weird guy who eats 3 times a day. After breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I took my cards, shut the door to my office, and I read them out loud. It took me about 6 or 7 minutes to read them all. I read them again at lunch, I read them again at dinner, and I did it day after day after day. When I got in a test, I just knew those flashcards. So that's an idea. Anybody else got questions? So all in all, I get from the questions that this Kahoot was worth your time. So I ought to try to do some more in the future. At least it's a feeling I get. So thank you all for coming. How to differentiate strict from absolute. Strict is about products. It's about products you sell or make, and the product damages somebody else. Absolute is having a reckless situation, okay? Homeowners coverages and dwelling. Angela, I tell you what worked for me. I took a sheet of paper for dwelling policy. I had a second sheet of paper for homeowners and a third sheet of paper for auto. And I put coverage A, B, C, D on each because they're different, right? And I made sure when I was studying dwelling, I looked at what A, B, C, D is. Homeowners the same, auto the same. And that gives me a broad picture. By putting them on 3 pieces of paper, I'm trying to avoid what we call intellectual bleeding. I'm mixing one up with the other. Oh, well, if you put them on different sheets of paper and you study each paper separately, it's kind of like when you clean up your room, you put the underwear in the underwear drawer, right? You just keep them separated and study them that way. So that's what I would suggest. But it's very important you do it. Those are the three key policies in your test. All right, you guys got my email. Write to me and I'll do my best to answer you and things like that. If you don't have time to write it down, um, you can contact me by through the Insurance Exam Queen. Just say this is for Peter, or I think I got it. I got an Insurance Exam Queen email address, but it's long. That's why I don't use it. So use this one. Oh, I didn't do the dancing hot dogs today. See, there's all kinds of tricks you get. Thank you, folks. I had a good time. I hope you learned something. Go out and pass the test. That's what we want you to do. Good night, everybody.